Okay, we're just going to give it a minute or so. Our participant list is climbing rapidly, so we'll just, 30 seconds or so, and then we will get started. I'm glad to see this is going to be a popular topic, so that's great.
Fantastic. I'm happy to.
And we've already got a hand raised. Somebody's an eager beaver.
That's what I like to hear.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, it's officially 10 a.m. here on the West Coast, so that's 1 o'clock in Toronto and 2 o'clock in Atlantic, Canada, and wherever you else in the world, you're going to have to figure it out what time it is for you. So welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Deirdre Pickerel. I am the Dean of Student Success at Yorkville University and Toronto Film School, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to today's webinar on really kind of sponsored by the Career Services Department. That functions across both institutions, YU and TFS. And today's webinar is writing a resume when you lack experience. And this isn't only if this is your kind of your first job, but you might be transitioning into a new career, and so lack experience in that new career. And how do you create this resume that will really sell you? So I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce you to today's speaker. So Linda Folster is our career advisor out at our British Columbia campus, but she, like all career advisors, Linda supports all students, doesn't matter where in the world that you are, what program that you're in, what school you're attached to, Linda is here for you. Linda's pretty new to our team. She started September the 1st, and I knew when she applied that Linda would be fantastic, and she has certainly made a huge difference in the Career Services Department and for our students. And for those of you that have already worked with Linda, you know this to be true. So Linda brings 12 years of experience advising close to 1,000 clients in career transition, primarily in the not-for-profit sector, which is where a lot of career development work is done. We tend to wait till you lose your job before we provide you with support, which isn't very good from an industry perspective, but we're working on it. But of course, Linda does also bring some experience in post-secondary. Linda's certified to administer and interpret a number of career assessments, which Career Services hopes to be offering to students in 2021. She's a certified career development practitioner. This is a certification that means Linda has gone through an evaluation of her skills and experience in her education, and there's a certifying body. Linda also holds a master's degree in adult education. As a former entrepreneur herself, Linda has worked as a business advisor with entrepreneurs at the startup stage. So if any of you are thinking of a private practice, whether that's in the counseling side or interior design or as a business person, Linda's certainly a person to talk to. Linda has been through many life transitions and has come out successfully on the other side. She wants you to know that she understands the roller coaster that you may be going through and how important your career goals are. And she's really looking forward to working with you to help you as you are a student and then transitioning from your programs into the world of work with your new degree. And I know she's got a lot of really important information to share. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to hide my video, but I will be back on to manage the Q&A. And Linda, thanks for doing this. Over to you. You're in charge now.
Deirdre, thanks so much for the vote of confidence and for the warm introduction. And I'm thrilled to be delivering my first webinar with Yorkville and TFS students. So I have some slides that I'm going to be showing, and I am going to share my screen now. So if you just give me a moment to get those up. Okay, can you see the screen, the slides? I'm assuming that you can. If not, please just let me know and I'll just get started. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. I realize that we could be having participants from across the country and outside the country. I just want to thank you for inviting me into your home. I'm going to be your host, and I also want to thank Deirdre for being our moderator. This is a real treat for me to have a moderator. And as Deirdre mentioned, I'm a career advisor with Career Services at our BC campus. Before we dig into the material, just a couple of housekeeping details. I'm going to be from time to time attempting to make the presentation interactive. If you engage in the session, it makes it more interesting for all of us, including me, and you will also learn more. I recognize that it's hard to sit passively and listen for an hour, so I encourage you to interact with me as if we were in a face-to-face classroom. And I also want you to know that I welcome your questions. I'm going to be pausing at certain points to ask you questions to check your understanding of the material. And you can also send me questions at any time. You can use either the chat function or the Q&A. So these are the specifics of my background that Deirdre referred to. I just want to take a moment to talk about the context that we find ourselves in and how this relates to your personal situation. It's hard to get your first job when you're a new grad and also when you're a career changer, and the competitive landscape with high unemployment during the pandemic has made this feel more true now than ever. But people are getting jobs. Just as proof of that, I was recently in this situation myself, and I landed this amazing job during COVID. And over the years, I've supported several hundred people to successfully break through this challenge too. So I want you to imagine for a moment what it would feel like if you were so clear about what you have to offer an employer that you stopped feeling confused and daunted and insecure about how to compete when you lack experience. The high unemployment rate during the pandemic has made our labor market very competitive. But as I said, people are getting jobs, and you can be one of them. And I'm about to give you some very valuable information about what employers are looking for when they're looking at resumes. And then I'm going to explain to you how, based on knowing this, you can dig into your life history to identify where you match what they're looking for, and also be showing you how to present yourself on paper so that you can start getting yourself into the yes pile. So just in case you weren't already aware of the importance of a laser-targeted, high-quality resume, this quote puts it into perspective. Employers spend an average of 5 to 7 seconds the first time they look at your resume. So think about that for a moment. On average, employers get at least 140 applicants when they post a job, and likely even more during times of high unemployment by now. It can be a few hundred or more applications. That means that you have about 5 seconds to make it into one of 3 piles: yes, no, or maybe. So if you don't make it into the yes pile, but you make it into the maybe pile, then you have about 20 seconds on the second look to move from the maybe to the yes pile. And in the webinar, I'm going to show you how to maximize your chances of making it into one of these 2 piles, and hopefully the yes pile instead of the maybe pile, even though you might have no direct work experience in your field. The idea for this workshop came from my observation that many, if not most, of our students face this dilemma. And it's one that's common to youth and new grads and career changers. And I once went through it too. I remember it vividly. It's very anxiety provoking. So the dilemma is, how do you get experience if you need experience to get a job and yet you're just starting out? I want you to think about your reasons for wanting to pursue your degree and ultimately a career in this field. Likely, it had something to do with your natural interest in this area, which may have developed during a particular part of your life, or maybe even an event in your life. And it might have grown over time, and it might have prompted you to get this degree. And that interest of yours is a good starting point to start to unpack experiences in your life up till now that led you down this path. Because embedded within these experiences are natural gifts that you developed into skills. And you can actually unpack these experiences to discover what you have to offer employers that would be of value to them. Because at the end of the day, At every step in your job search process, your task is to prove to employers the only thing that matters to them, which is, how can you be of value to me? So here's what we'll cover in the webinar. I'll explain the 3 traditional resume styles along with explanations of when to use which style. And this is going to include a checklist for each style to make it easier for you. I'll also share with you 2 case studies to bring to life the material that I'm presenting today. And when I'm presenting these case studies, I encourage you to put yourself in the employer's shoes to get a sense of how they might react to seeing the applicant's resumes in light of the job that they need to fill. The more that you can put yourself in the employer's shoes, the better. It will help you to understand how they make decisions about who goes into these piles called yes, no, and maybe. And on that note, we're going to be examining a few job descriptions in order to look for clues about what employers are looking for. Your job is to study those job ads and job descriptions deeply so that you can determine what you have to offer that matches what they are looking for. And then you write about that in your resume. And this is what we're talking about when we refer to a targeted resume. Today, I'm going to be focusing specifically on 2 resume styles that are appropriate to new grads and career changers, the functional and the combination styles. And I'll explain to you what the differences are between them and when to use each one depending on your specific circumstances. If you take a look at the outcomes on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see that the final point is learning to prove your skills. So there are a ton of cliches in most resumes. You see so many statements like, I'm a good team player, I have good communication skills. And these just end up coming across as empty claims, and so they don't make much of an impact. There's a better way to write this in a style that brings your skills to life, and that's through storytelling and citing metrics, in other words, numbers. This is what makes you stand out from the competition, and finding multiple ways to stand out is what gets employers' attention. This quote by Richie Norton is very relevant to our topic. When it comes to getting a job or client, congruent value is aligning the employer's need with your value add. In other words, there must be a match between what employers want and what you offer. That's congruency, and you're going to learn about how to achieve this. So the first resume style is one that most people are familiar with, and in fact, many people are not aware that there are even other styles that you can use. And that's the chronological style. This style has the usual headings in it, such as objective, profile, education, and work experience. And sometimes this type of resume can include other optional headings like volunteer work or hobbies. And the focus of this style is on work experience, where each of your jobs, both current and previous, are listed in reverse chronological order. In other words, starting with your most recent job and working backwards in time to show past jobs. The column in the center of this slide shows criteria for when this is an appropriate choice for your situation. So as I go through this list, I want you to mentally check off which points apply to you, if any. Maybe none of them do. This gives you some clues about which resume style is right for you. So here are some situations where this one's a fit. When you have many years of experience in a particular career that you're targeting now, especially where you can show progression. You've worked in one specific industry for different employers. In other words, there's a pattern that an employer can make sense of. And your work history is consistent with little or no gaps. So next, let's see a snapshot of what this looks like. Here's a screenshot of the work experience section of an accounting assistant using a chronological style. As you can see, she's listed her employers, the employment dates, her job titles, and her responsibilities. So in this case, her work experience is in one field, and that's accounting, and it shows progression. So this is an excellent choice for this individual. This is pretty standard stuff. The next style is called a functional resume, also known as a skills-based resume. I'm curious to know if you've had experience with this style of resume. If you have, just let me know. You can send yes. You can use the chat function. And you know, Deirdre, if you see some yeses piling up at some point, I'd just be curious to know how many people have had some degree of experience with this kind of resume. Okay, I see 3, 4. We've got mostly, no, we've got a combination here of yeses and nos. Okay, and I would expect to see that. Okay, somebody says, where can I access it on YouTube? That's funny, you won't need to because you're gonna have everything you need to know about it from this webinar, and I'm also gonna be making available some resources that will help you to create your own, but let's learn more about it. So although the headings in this resume are similar to the chronological style, the difference between this style and the chronological style is that this one focuses on your relevant skills as opposed to your work experience. Keep in mind that the skills that you decide to feature must be ones that the employer is actually looking for. So that's what we mean by relevant skills. And again, that's what we mean when we refer to a targeted resume. So for example, it may be great that you have excellent computer skills, but honestly, if you're going for a counseling job, that's not going to get an employer's attention. They'd want to see that you're skilled at building relationships, that you have empathy, and that you're a good listener, and that sort of thing. So it's not that you don't include your work history, you do, but the work history section in a functional style resume consists of a simple listing of your positions held, employers, and employment dates, but without any of the detail that you see in a chronological resume. So let's take a look at the criteria that make this style a good choice in the second column on the slide. And again, as I go through the list, mentally check off which points apply to you. So this one works if you have little to no experience in your field, or maybe you have work experience, but not in this career. Although you lack experience, you have the skills required to do the job, and you've used these skills in other areas of your life. Perhaps you have some gaps in your work history or have changed jobs frequently, either of which can be a red flag to employers, and you want to downplay that. I'm going to see there's a couple of chats. I'm going to have a look at them. Okay. There will be a live recording of, or I should say a recorded version of this that you will be able to access. So thank you very much for the person who asked because they have to leave early. Okay, so let me show you a snapshot of the functional resume. There it is. Okay, so this is a screenshot of the skills section of a functional resume, a real one, by the way. It's not fictitious. This is someone who is transitioning to a dog trainer position. And I'm going to be showing you a more detailed version during the case study segment. So as you can see, she lists her relevant skills by grouping them into meaningful headings. So the first skill grouping is called animal care, training, and dog handling skills. And the second one is called physical fitness and hardiness. And within each of these skill groupings, she describes stories. And these stories act as proofs of these skills. So look at this one. By age 11, I undertook the training of 2 horses on our hobby farm by researching and applying techniques and consulting with a 4-H expert, resulting in the horses being fully trained within a year and winning ribbons in the horse shows that I entered. So remember, this is someone who is changing careers and has no direct experience. The final style is called a combination resume, and that's also known as a hybrid resume. So once again, I'm just going to ask if you've ever heard of or maybe even used this style. So once again, I'd like to just gauge that by seeing your responses in the chat function. Okay, so we have a couple of people who have used this, and we have a few who haven't. And that's what I would expect to see. Okay, good to know. So this is probably the least common style. And just as the name suggests, it's a combination of the chronological and functional styles. So like the functional resume, the focus is on relevant skills, but the difference is that these are featured under each of your previous jobs. So the skills are featured under the jobs, as opposed to being described at a detailed level within a section called skills, like we saw in the dog trainer resume. In other words, you would feature a fully developed work history section as opposed to a mere listing of your previous jobs as per the functional style. Then, within each job listing, you would focus on the skills you used that are relevant to the job you're going for, as opposed to just describing the particular duties of each job. And I'm going to show you an example of a combination resume in a little while, but first, let's go through the checklist in the center column. And as I read these out, again, make a note of which of the criteria apply to you and your situation. So this would be a good style to choose if you're in the early stages of your career with anywhere from 1 to 3 years of relevant experience, which is actually considered minimal for most jobs. And maybe your experience is with just a few employers, and yet you have a solid track record. Or perhaps you graduated or are nearing graduation, but you haven't had many jobs, period. And this is a good choice for someone who is changing careers or else staying in their current field, but changing industries. So for example, as Deirdre mentioned, my work experience is primarily in the nonprofit sector, and I switched to the post-secondary environment, and they're totally different worlds. And I personally used a combination style resume, and obviously it worked very well for me. This style works well if you have no gaps in your work history. Because you'd be featuring your jobs in reverse chronological order and filling out content within each job in detail, if you do have gaps in your work history, then these would be more noticeable in a combination style resume. So if you have gaps, you might want to choose a functional style. So I'm curious, based on the checklists, were you able to get an idea of which resume style would work best for your situation? Send me an answer through the chat. I'm just curious. Great. Wow, this is fantastic. So what I'm seeing is that people are either telling me that yes, they know which resume style would work best for them, and they're even telling me which style they're going to choose. So that is fantastic. I'm very happy to hear that. So here's a screenshot of how the skills are highlighted in the work experience section of a combination resume for someone who's transitioning from a marketing professional to a recruiter position. These two professions require many of the same skills, actually. So this is a great fit. So notice how the skills are listed in the top section. And then below that, in the listing of the person's jobs, so again, that's the part that's similar to chronological resume, the skills that are referred to in the top section are featured in bold. So this is like a proof of those skills that are listed above. So now let's take an example that can be easily understood by a wide audience, and that is the job of a dog trainer. But to give you some context, let's make sure we understand the job of a dog trainer first. And you know what? Researching this is actually pretty easy. It's as easy as entering dog trainer job description or dog trainer job posting in your Google search bar. Here's what I found in terms of the education, experience, soft skills, and hard skills that are needed. And here's where I found this. By the way, I noticed there's a question, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. Okay. So this is what one result was from doing a Google search for a dog trainer job description. And here what we find is a listing of explaining what the job actually is, breaking it down into the responsibilities, and then a list of what the requirements are. And that includes the educational requirements, the experience and skills and so on. And what I really like about this particular web page is at the bottom, it has listings of similar job descriptions that you can click on. So if this person who is interested in this field wanted to have more options available to her, she could actually do that kind of research as well. Okay. So we have a question here, can we use the hybrid but focus on volunteer experience? Absolutely. And I would actually recommend that you do that because as you're going to learn throughout the rest of this content, you are able to look at any period of your life, any activities of your life that are relevant. Any tips for people who were mostly self-employed? As a matter of fact, Sonia, this specific individual was self-employed, this particular case study, so absolutely you will see that. What you have gaps in your workers because currently, because of COVID? That's an excellent question, Kayla. And as a matter of fact, from what I have read, there never has been a time in our lifetime where gaps have been more easy to explain than during COVID. And I think employers are much more understanding of that happening in today's world. So it's ideal if you can downplay that in your resume. But let's say you have gaps in your work history that were before COVID happened and you have a few of them, then that may put you in a slightly weaker position. I hope I've answered your question. Okay, so let's say that I'm an employer and I post a job. I'm going to go back to the slide. So now we can see what the background is, what's needed for a dog trainer. So I'm back to the slide. Let's say that I'm an employer and I post a job for a dog trainer. And among the applicants is somebody named Samantha Marshall. So let me tell you a little bit about her background. She has 4 years entry-level accounting administrative experience and decided to pursue a career change as a dog trainer, so she got her certification. So let me show you Samantha Marshall's resume. Okay, so here it is. As you can see, she has listed her certification as a dog trainer in her summary, and she has also listed it in her education. I'm curious, if you look at this, what is your guess? What style of resume is this? Is this chronological, or is it functional, or is it combination?
And just so you know, we can't see the resume. We can only see the slide. Or
oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. Can you see it now?
No.
I'm not sure why that is, Deirdre, because I actually have it showing on my screen.
Are you on? Do you have two screens?
I do.
Okay, so you showed one screen, and now that you switch to the other, Zoom doesn't do that switch. You'd have to stop share and then share your other screen.
Okay.
A limit to the technology.
Okay. Well, that's unfortunate because I have a lot of links in this presentation. All right. Can you just give me a moment while I try to sort that out? Okay.
I just turned my video back on, so I'm not a talking head, Linda, or a talking no head.
Okay. How's that?
I think you do. I think you do have the ability to, you know, just kind of share your desktop, and then you should be able to go back and forth. But yeah, we can see the resume now, so that's
Perfect.
great. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right. Thanks for letting me know. That's so important for me to know. And if that happens again, which it might, please just feel free to interrupt me, Deirdre, and let me know.
Yeah, I will. Thanks
Okay.
so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay. So what style of resume is this? Is it functional, chronological, or combination? What do you think? Okay. Chronological. Somebody says chronological. We've got a couple of people that say combination. Okay. So in fact, this is a chronological resume. Because we don't really have much evidence of a summary of skills. This is more of just an overall summary of everything that the person brings to the table. And the focus is more on the work experience. So what kind of job do you think that this person is best suited to? Accounting. Exactly. Admin, accounting. I totally agree with you, actually. So if you were an employer and you spent 5 seconds scanning this resume, which pile do you think the resume would go into? And why? Yes, no, or maybe. Into the no pile. Yes, no, no relevant experience. Exactly. Okay, so you're getting it. I'm very happy to hear that. So I'm also curious to know how many of you are in Samantha's situation where you have previous work experience, but it's unrelated. And the only thing that you think that you have to offer that's relevant is your degree. How many of you are in that situation? Lots of people, pretty much everyone who is responding is telling me this. And I'm not surprised to hear this. You'd be surprised how many resumes we see like this in career services. So what style of resume do you think would be a better fit for Samantha Marshall? Functional. Yay, you guys are rock stars. That is fantastic. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for checking in with me on this. It's good for me to know how you're grasping the content. Okay, so I'm gonna, oh, can you see my slides again now?
No.
Yes?
No.
No, okay. So I'm gonna have to go back and screen share again. Give me 1 second, please. How about now? Can you see my slide again?
Yeah, it's all good.
Great. Okay, I think I got the hang of this. Good stuff. All right. So I'd like to introduce you now to Janan Abadi, and she is our first case study. And here are a few details of her career situation. She's a career changer with no related work experience. This point is relevant to the person who asked the question, what if you're self-employed? She was a self-employed hairstylist for 11 years, and she has always had a passion for dogs and animals of any kind. And she completed her dog trainer certification recently. She does have a gap in her work history, and she is searching for her first job in the dog care industry. So which resume style do you think would be the best choice for her, and why? Functional. All right. She can tell about her skills. Exactly. So I'm happy to see that, that you made the right choice. So now let's explore this functional resume style in more detail. As you heard me say earlier, the focus of this style is on relevant skills. And you saw in an earlier slide that I was able to easily gain an understanding of what skills employers are looking for a dog trainer by doing a simple Google search. And once a list of relevant skills that employers want is generated, the next step will be to figure out which ones of those skills you can realistically offer. And in the next slide, I'll show you some tips and tools on how to determine this. It can be difficult for people to put into words what their skills are, even though we may have a general sense of what we're good at. And once you have found the overlap between what the employer wants and what you bring to the table, you can group your relevant skills under meaningful headings. So for a dog trainer, this could include skills like animal care and dog handling, communication and customer service, problem solving, and there are likely many others. So in order to avoid using cliche language that can be seen as empty claims, you can back up your skills by providing proofs, by writing the detail within your skills as accomplishment statements instead of job duties. And you're going to learn how to do this. Again, as a reminder, your work history is de-emphasized and is merely included as a listing of positions held, employer names, and dates employed. And Career Services has a sample, and we have a template of a functional resume that's available to you as well. So given that Janan is embarking on this new career without any formal related experience, how can she sell herself? It's a process to do so, and it's entirely possible by following a set of steps. And I'm going to walk you through step by step how to generate answers to the key questions on the right-hand side of your screen. So how can Janan find out about what skills employers are looking for? Again, if you'll give me a moment to get the right screen in front of you. All right, can you see the dog trainer job description in front of you now?
Yep, yeah. It's there, Linda.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So you've seen this before. This is one of the web pages that this individual looked at in order to raise her awareness of what is sought after for this new position of a dog trainer. Okay. And the next question is, how can she articulate her relevant skills? Okay, there it is. All right. Can you see that one? Articulating the skill scan slide?
Yep.
Great. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to pages 3 through 5, and this is available to you from Career Services as well. This is a handy little tool that will help you to find some vocabulary to describe your skills. And so these pages show a table which includes a number of different skills which are grouped under broad categories. So you can see relationship, communication, management, leadership, and so on. And within each of these are some very specific skills. So relationship skills could include collaborating, respecting diversity, and so on. So how you fill this in is you look through the list of all of the skills on these couple of pages, and you rate yourself. You rate yourself according to 2 different factors. One of them is your proficiency level. So in other words, how good do you think you are at leading a team? If you think you're pretty good at it, you give yourself a rating of 3. A moderate level of skill would be a 2, and a low level would be a 1. And then another interesting piece is you rate your enjoyment level, because the truth is that we can be skilled at many things, but not necessarily enjoy doing them. So for example, my mom taught me to sew when I was 9 years old. I sewed my own wedding dress, for example, and have a lot of experience, but I don't enjoy it at all. So we want to be focusing on using the skills that not only we feel that we have some competence, but also that we enjoy. So if you enjoy using a particular skill a lot, you give it a 4, a 3 would be a moderate rating, and a 2 would be a low rating. The next step after you go through and fill all of these fields in is you multiply your proficiency level by your enjoyment level to get a total score. And then you add up the numbers in this column to get a total score to tell you, you know, your score for management and leadership skills and so on. And you'll end up with scores under each of these broad categories. And what that will enable you to do is to list out by name of skill, which ones come under the highest category, second highest, third, and fourth highest. Okay. I'm just going back to my slideshow now. Okay. So that was about how can she articulate her relevant skills. So that little activity that I showed you on the tool that is available to you can help you put some language around your skills. The next slide I'm going to show you is an article, which is a link that's available in our resume development documents, which we can share with you, that shows you how to transform your skills into accomplishment statements. You heard me speaking about that earlier.
Linda, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just so that you're aware, what we are seeing is your speaker view, so we can see your current slide and then the next slide in your notes. I don't know if you wanted that, but just so you know, I don't think it really matters.
Okay. Okay, thanks for letting me know, Deirdre. That's an easy fix for me. Okay. Now I'm going to share the article with you that I've told you about. It's a really great one. Okay, can you see that article, Resume Revamp, How to Turn Your Duties into Accomplishments?
Yeah.
Great, okay. So I'll go through it step by step. And I really, really recommend that you read this article. The first point they make in the article is know the difference. So a duty describes what you did, and an accomplishment describes how well you did it. So for example, saying that you planned events would be considered a job duty, whereas if you instead said that you raised $100,000 by selling out tickets to a 200-person charity event, that is an accomplishment. And why is this so important? Because you want to tell the person reading your resume something that they don't already know. And for the most part, hiring managers will understand what duties are associated with different job titles. So it's really not that helpful for them in terms of understanding what sets you apart. The second part is that you make a list. For each of your previous jobs or volunteer positions, ask yourself the questions that are listed here. What did I do that was above and beyond my normal duties? How did I stand out among other employees? And so on. And to answer one of the participants' questions about volunteer experience, if you have little to no experience, you can use examples from any context of your life, and that can certainly include your volunteer experience. And the next part was paint the picture with numbers. So here you add as many facts and figures and numbers as you can, because by quantifying your accomplishments, you not only make them easier to understand, you really allow the hiring manager to picture the level of responsibility that you needed to achieve that accomplishment. And then the final point is that you add the benefit. So you take each statement one step further and you add in what the result was. And this demonstrates not only what you're capable of, but it also implies the direct benefit the employer will receive by hiring you. Then you'll take all of this information and you'll write it up as a series of accomplishment statements, and you organize each one of these accomplishment statements under the appropriate skill category. Okay. All right. We're back to the PowerPoint now. Are you seeing it how it should appear?
We're seeing your speaker screen.
Okay.
Linda, just while you're doing that, we're getting a lot of questions about the amazing resources that you're sharing. So rather than me typing it over and over again, I'll just let everybody know that if you email, and I'll put this in the chat, careerservices@yorkvilleu.ca, then you can get all of these resources from Linda directly. We will have a lot of this stuff posted on the Learning Success Center when it relaunches, but that relaunch date is it's not quite known yet. So probably within the next month or so, you'll be able to get it without emailing Linda. But for now, careerservices@yorkvilleu.ca, and Linda will be happy to share all of the amazing resources that she's presenting on right now.
Thanks, Deirdre. Okay, I'm hoping that I have the correct view now of the slides. Can you confirm that for me, Deirdre?
Yeah,
great.
All good.
Okay. First webinar, right?
Hey, it's such good information though, Linda. So it's just the back and forth and the technology. So, but I think everybody is really engaged, and I would say really valuing what you have to say. So the little switches back and forth are a non-issue.
Okay.
I would suggest.
Thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. So back to Janan. That is a really great article that I just showed you, and I highly, highly recommend. It makes it easy to understand the process. Okay, so the final question is, how can she prove her accomplishments through storytelling? And I have another link to share with you on that. All right, I'm back to the skills scan, assessing your pattern of skills and motivations. So this time, I am going to be showing you a different part of this document. That is on pages 1 and 2. And again, this is available to you through Career Services. What it asks you to do is to brainstorm a variety of your favorite activities and accomplishments and list them in this box. But there's a couple of points, criteria actually, that are important for any one of those activities to make it into this box. So for each one of them, it's got to meet these 3 criteria, not just 1 or 2, but 3. So for each activity that brings back a fond memory, it must be a specific situation in which you played an active role. So for example, saying that you developed a mentoring program for high school students, that's correct because it's very specific and it's something where you played an active role. That is very different and more powerful than saying, I like creating service programs, because as you can see, that's too general. The second criterion is that it must be something where you enjoyed the process of performing the activity as well as the end results. So it has to be something you enjoyed. And the third criterion is the activity had value to you and not necessarily anyone else. So in other words, that it's something that you were proud of. So remember, each one of these 3 criteria must be met, all of them, in order for those fond memories to make it into this box. And the next step is for you to, you probably list these out, giving each one of them a title of some kind. You list out in this grid the titles of each of those activities, and then you list out what the first most rewarding part of it was, the second and the third, and so on. And what you're starting to do here is you're starting to raise your awareness, but you're also practicing skills of breaking down positive experiences that you're proud of. You're breaking them down so that you can learn how to express them in stories. And that will help you not only in building those stories into your resume, but ultimately it's also going to help you when you're in job interviews and the interviewer asks you to give specific examples. Okay. So let me show you what we came up with and how we went about doing that. So first of all, I'm going to circle back to the job description because this is going to visually give you an idea of how to go through this process of analyzing job descriptions to see where the overlap is between what they want and what you bring to the table. All right, so what we have, again, we're seeing the dog trainer job description. And as you can see, there's all this yellow highlighting. And what that highlighting is this person finding out, okay, what are they looking for? Well, look at that, I'm patient. I'm passionate about training dogs. I have a sound knowledge of techniques. I'm a great communicator. I know dog handling and problem solving. I've developed training plans when I was a hairstylist, and so on and so forth. So all of those yellow highlights that you see are what this person with no experience in dog training in a formal sense can offer. So she actually has a lot to offer. So as a beautiful ending to this story, it's not quite the ending, but we're getting pretty close. I want to show you Janon's resume. This is her entire resume. All right, so here it is. And there's all these comments here on the side that I'm going to click on, because what I'm going to show you is all of those aspects from the job description that were highlighted in yellow that are now showing up in her resume. So for example, her passion for animals is showing up right in the first 2 lines of her resume. She loves dogs, and that's why she became a certified dog trainer. Again, we found that in the job description. She's somebody who's patient. She has animal training and dog handling skills. Again, that was directly from the job description. This little story about intuitively training their family's German Shepherd by building a bond and reading his body language. This shows knowledge of animal behavior and body language. She has communication skills. Again, that was one of the soft skills that was from the job description. She, again, gives more detail about her quality of patience, and this is from her hairstyling career. She has organizational and problem-solving skills, and this actually made it into becoming a skill category in her resume. She has trained people before in her career as a hairstylist. Time management, scheduling appointments, and verifying bookings, again, was from the job description. And also, even in her hobby section, she talks about how she is in an ongoing way seeking out more learning about jobs, or dogs, I should say, which underscores her passion and her enthusiasm. Okay. All right. I think we're back at the PowerPoint, are we?
Yeah.
All right. I'm learning a whole other skill set here, how to manage anxiety. Okay, so this is the best part of the story. It's actually a true story. And Janon is a fictitious name for a real person, and she is a good friend of mine. And the process that I outlined in the resume are actually totally real. So here's what happened. She applied for a job as a dog walker with a local company called the Pet Shop Club in Vancouver, which is a luxury boutique spa, and it has a daycare service, and it also offers other services like dog walking and training and boarding. And they were so impressed with her resume that they invited her for an interview the next day, and they offered her a job on the spot. And not only did they offer her the dog walker position, but they also hired her as a dog trainer, and they started sending dog boarding bookings to her. In fact, they sent her more referrals than she had time for. She had to start turning down some of these offers. So remember, she didn't have any formal work experience doing this, only a certification. And what do you think would have happened if she created a chronological resume like our friend Samantha Marshall, who had the accounting background? Tell me what you think would have happened there. It would have gone to the no pile. She would have ended up in the no pile. You're exactly right. So let's now look at another example, one that illustrates a combination style resume. This is the story of a young man who decided to transition from a few years as a marketing professional to a recruiter. Strategizing on how to market yourself for a job should always begin with research about what employers are looking for. So I'm going to show you a document available online that provided some great direction for our next case study, and it confirmed that he was on the right track with deciding on this career change. Okay, so this is just an article from the internet which has been copied and pasted into a Word document. And once again, the same process. So this article is about how people with a marketing background, the types of career changes that could be suitable for them. And this one was specific to how it makes a good transfer to a recruiting position. And so all of these points that are underlined here are what the person realized that they have to bring to the table as a recruiter from their background. So this one is campaign management. The next one is leadership, project management, budgets, strategy development. And then these three, some are repeated: people, relationship, budget, and project management. So that helped this person understand that, that he was on the right track. So I'd like to introduce you to Raymond Wong, our second case study. And here are a few details of Raymond's career situation. He's a career changer. As I said, he's changing from a former career as a marketer to a recruitment consultant. He has 3 years marketing or account management work experience. He doesn't have any gaps in his work history, but he also doesn't have any recruitment experience. It's a career change for him. Recruitment, as I said, is a common career change for marketing professionals, and he's searching for his first job as a recruitment consultant. So I'm curious, which resume style do you think would work best for Raymond, and why? Combination. Okay. I'm noticing that we're starting to go a little bit over time, and I just wanted to reassure you that this one won't take as long as Janan. We're almost near the end of the webinar. So some people said combination resume, and I agree with you. He could go with either a functional or a combination style, but one is better than the other. A functional resume is an option because his skills are very transferable. However, he has no gaps in his work history, and he has a few years of work experience in a field that is directly transferable to recruitment. So if it's possible for you to contextualize your skills through your work experience, this makes it easier for employers to visualize you in the role. And in Raymond's case, this is definitely possible. So a combination resume would sell him better than a functional style. So let's review the combination style in more detail. Although this style still focuses on skills over work experience, it combines the functional and chronological types by bringing to life the skills within each job in the work experience section. And this is developed at a detailed level. The work experience section what it does is it proves your skills, and it does so by weaving in accomplishment statements that tell stories of your skills in action. And you can get a sample and a template for a combination style resume from Career Services, and I will be showing you Raymond's resume. So the process for Raymond to discover what skills employers are looking for and articulate his relevant skills and transform his skills into accomplishment statements are the same steps that our dog trainer Janan followed, so I won't click on these links. The difference here is that Raymond can mine his work experience as a marketing professional for stories, because marketing is a field that's considered very transferable to recruitment. Whereas Janan had to dig into personal life stories because her career as a self-employed hairdresser has no relevance to dog training. So I'm going to show you Raymond's resume. All right, so here's Raymond Wong. Underneath his objective statement is a listing of all of the skills that he determined he has from his background in marketing that transfer into a recruitment position. And then, just like a chronological style, he lists each of his jobs in reverse chronological order. But instead of listing all of his job duties, what he does is he tells stories. These are accomplishment statements. And as you can see, the skills that are listed above are actually in bold. So these show proofs of these skills. And he's also listed for each one of them results. So look at some of these powerful results. Increased funds raised by $50,000 over the previous year. Led a team of 7 in producing a TV spot and launching campaign result. Donations increased 200% over the Christmas season. That's very powerful. So one final announcement I want to share with you is that Career Services has created some very thorough documents and a tool to help you create a strong resume. In other words, a resume that sells you. In a couple of slides, I'm going to show you our email address so that you can reach out to us and request these resources. And I won't click on these 3 individual documents because we're running out of time, but I just wanted to tell you what's within them. So one of them is an instruction package, which has about 7 pages to it. And in it, it describes all of the important statistics about resumes. It tells you about the employer's point of view, the importance of targeting. It describes in detail each of these 3 different resume styles that we have gone over today, and it includes the checklists. It also describes each of the different sections of a resume and what you should include and how you should write up those sections. It also includes samples that are taken from real resumes about what you should write in each of the sections. And it also contains a page full of powerful skills words, because sometimes you run out of ideas when you're writing your resume and you feel like you're just using the same words over and over again. So that adds some variety to your writing. In addition, there is a page with a list of different types of skills that help you put some language to writing your resume. So there's the action verbs is what I was trying to say just before this. There's a list of action verbs, and there's also a list of skills words that you can use and links to articles that explain about all the different types of skills. So soft skills, hard skills, innovation skills, and so on and so forth. Another great thing is that we have another document that features sample resumes. And again, these are real resumes. There's a chronological sample, a functional sample, and also a combination sample. And then also, one thing that you might find very useful is that we have templates that you can use. So we have a template for each one of the 3 different styles. They are fully formatted and explains what you should write in each section. So it makes it easy for you because all you really need to do is to write in your own details in each of those sections. So I just wanted to conclude with this uplifting quote. As a job seeker, remember this: you only lack experience if they want it done the same old way. So I guess at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself if you want to work for an employer who wants it the same old way. So just wanted to leave you with our email address at careerservices@yorkville.ca. That's it for my presentation. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but hopefully you still were able to gain the value that I was hoping for. And I want to welcome you to connect with us for more information.
Thanks so much, Linda. I think we learned a lot about not only about resumes and how important it is and all of the styles and all of the options. You know, everybody was really engaging in the chat. And of course, we learned about Zoom.
Well, let's say I learned about Zoom, Deirdre. I think you've got it nailed by now.
I think everybody was really patient, and ultimately it's the information and all the extra clicking, your poor fingers probably sore. But I am very aware of time, so I would suggest that, you know, the few questions that are in here, some of them were posted a while back, but perhaps I would just encourage those of you that had an unanswered question to email Linda directly at careerservices@yorkville.u, and she'd be really happy to answer privately. Some of the questions are much longer. Like a really meaningful answer is going to take a little bit of time, and we're already almost 15 minutes late. So thank you again, everybody, for coming. Please reach out to Career Services. We are here for you. We have another staff person starting on Monday, so there's a solid team to help you with all of your career questions. And I'm really, I also want to remind you that Ask an Expert the next 2 weeks is also focusing on career information. Those are Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern. It's a 30-minute session. And as of 2021, Career Services will be running these webinars 2 times a month. So watch for your email and for your announcements so that you can sign up for those as well. So Linda, thanks so much for doing this. Great information. It was a ton of stuff packed into what really did not feel like enough time in the end, despite the clicking. There's just so much meat to developing a really relevant and meaningful resume that really will help people shine and get screened into that yes pile. So lots of really, really good information there. So thank you so much. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Have a fantastic weekend. And I know Linda is looking forward to hearing from you. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask for the help that you need. That's what we're here for.
Thanks so much, everybody.